How's it? And welcome to the Tove Tabloid, the place where you can hear all about it right here on algoafm.co.za. Talking today to Neil Maslin. He's the president for Europe, Middle East and Africa for BMGI. Flew into Port Elizabeth to talk to us about business strategy. I've just enjoyed the platform. It's been incredible. Neil, interesting strategy thing is that business is not exactly getting it right these days.
You're right, Tove, and I must say, what a wonderful city. It's been great being in Port Elizabeth, talking to like-minded people, thought leaders, businessmen. Strategy, well, what are we getting wrong with strategy? I think for too long we've seen strategy as a to-do list. We've seen it as 4 pillars or 3 circles. We've talked about models, but we've lost sight of what it really is. Where did we notice that? We've noticed the current financial challenges, a situation that really hasn't gone away. And businesses don't put enough thinking into the strategies they create. And I think that's our starting point. And there were 5 pieces of advice that we wanted to leave people with today. Point number 1 is we got to spend more time up front thinking. And you know, thinking is not just about running away for a 2-day bossporot. In South Africa, we've even managed to coin a term for it. Thinking is about spending time collecting data. It's spending time letting that data thinking, actually saturating and then illuminating, making sure that we collect the right data. Once we've got the information that we need, then we can get into creation. And you know, creation, like somebody pointed out today, is something that also has to be touched by process. So we get the thinking right, we get the creation, and only then, once we've put that time and effort in, should we move into planning. Secondly, we need to have structure. Business is complex, it's becoming more complex. The rate of change is ever increasing. We need to make sure that when we implement a strategy, we touch on every interrelated component that we need to. Now, we have a model called the Business Blueprint that identifies 10 components that really need to be considered, whether it's the game plan, information flow, the management of performance, the culture in the organization, processes, competencies. We need to make sure that we consider each and every one. It's like anything in life. It's not what you cover, it's what you leave out. And having a business blueprint, which is the second point that we made, is about bringing structure to the process. The third point was the importance of questioning. There was a good piece of literature, The Innovator's DNA, that talks about 5 fundamental skills for innovation. Those being the ability to observe, to question, to network, to experiment, and to associate. We spend too much time thinking about the answer before we really thought about the question itself. Now, the answers that we receive are almost irrelevant if we're asking the wrong questions, and that was really the third point that we made. Let's get back to asking the questions. Fourth, in organizations, when they solve problems, we know how to do this. We understand that we need to broaden our mindset, and then we need to focus in on the problem. So we would identify all the possible causes of a situation. We'd identify the single root cause, that focus again. Then we might step back and say, well, what are all of the possible solutions? Then we might focus in and select the best possible solution. This process of opening one's mind, focusing again, is what we would refer to as the converging and divergent thought process. That was the fourth point we made. Step back, really think about it. One of the examples we gave was the concept of the job to be done. Let me give an interesting example. Back in the 17th century, candle making was an important business. We then came into the 19th century and we don't see a whole bunch of candle making anymore. Why was that? It wasn't that they had the wrong strategy for building the perfect candle. It was that, well, the job to be done was not to provide a perfect candle. The job to be done was to provide illumination, and of course Thomas Edison helped us to get that right. Now the same is true of many businesses today. We need to step back and to ask ourselves not just about the product we're producing, but what is the fundamental job to be done. The fifth and the final point that we spoke about today was the management of change. And we said that the second we have to call it change management, the second we have to have a separate team leading that process, we've probably lost the plot. Management of change needs to be brought in to whatever we're doing up front. It is about motivating people. It's about providing clear direction, communicating that, giving them the skills. And like a rugby team, they also need to have not just the individual skills, but the ability to play together as a team, which means they need to understand they're playing rugby. What are the rules? Where are the lines? Pull it all together, have a common method. So we talk about direction, communication, skills. We spoke about method, and then the last 2 points refer to having a plan, because if we don't have that, we'll have chaos. And lastly, making sure that we understand what motivates individual people. So Tove, 5 things today that we shared. We spoke about the importance of thinking, having a structured approach, questioning, convergence and divergence, and lastly, really managing that journey for individuals so that they can be part of it and they can drive it forward. Because business, at the end of the day, is about people.
It's a commercial concern, isn't it? And it's one that you want to get right. A lot of people here today were absolutely in awe of the workshop headed by Neil Maslin. It's been an absolute privilege for Port Elizabeth to host people from all around the world. He was just recently at a meal with the president of Rwanda. That's the kind of quality of people that we were enjoying here. So thank you so much to Neil Maslin on the Tove tabloid. He is the president of Europe, Middle East and Africa for BMGI. Talking now to Zoe Waters, who's the Director of Finance and Operations in Nelson Mandela Bay Business Chamber. It's been a huge success. Business Chamber must be so pleased with the result today.
Absolutely.
Zoe, congratulations. Tell us about your business accolade.
Thank you. It's the Man and Guardian Young South Africans Top 200 Young South Africans 2013 list. I was very humbled and honoured to be on that list, and there's a few people from the Eastern Cape, so it's really nice recognition for us from this province.
Now, as the Business Chamber, these workshop breakfasts are proving hugely popular.
Absolutely.
Tell us more about this one and what you have coming forward.
We partnered with BMGI today on operational strategy, and we, as the Business Chamber, have a very, we believe, important strategy in terms of economic growth and development for the region. And we would like to see, in terms of development for businesses, that they implement their own strategies and follow strategies, and drilling it down into your staff as well. It's not, BMGI was saying, it's not something you go to a cave and develop. It's very important that your staff and your internal and external partners are aware of your strategy and measurables to the strategy.
I think many people, businesses, were really impressed with the fact that the Business Chamber is getting involved in their future. How can businesses who aren't currently members join your organisation?
That's very easy. You can go to our website, Nelson Mandela Bay Business Chamber, or you're welcome to pop into our offices at 200 Norvic Drive, KPMG House, behind Green Acres. And we are very active in terms of functions we do, different from soft skills up to power breakfast like we had today. We've also got a lot of task teams where we do development and anything from SME to high energy electricity users. So there's definitely something for everybody. Renewable energy is the big one at the moment. So there's definitely somewhere for everyone to be involved.
As we wrap out the Tove tabloid today, talking to one of the key presenters today, Johan Olofsson from BMGI. Sub-Saharan Africa is your speciality.
Yeah, Business Development Manager for South Africa and then Sub-Saharan Africa as well.
You opened the workshop getting people to think. Straight away you asked for 3 questions and you didn't specify what they were.
No, it's and that's often, we sometimes get stuck in this rut, thinking we only have a small list of questions and things we need to ask for people. But in essence, if you just expand a little bit in your mind and ask very interesting things and ask different questions, you actually get different answers and different replies. And from this morning, you actually saw that there's a huge richness in the room that if you did not apply that, nobody would have actually discovered.
How does business ask the right question?
It's taking the time to ask the questions. I think from a day-to-day perspective, businesses are getting so involved in operational issues that they don't really take the time. From this morning sessions, we actually saw that you need to actually take the time to think. And also taking the time to think about the questions you need to ask. Very often we do the John Wayne style, as we encounter a problem and we immediately come up with a solution without really asking some critical questions around the specific process. Just as an easy guide, we usually talk about the 5 bums on the bench or the 5 whiskeys on a bar, and it's typically the 5 whys, why, what, where, when, who and how. If you start with those questions with those elements, you'll start to discover quite a bit of richness around your question. and that very often provokes various types of thoughts. And I think it's also the level of people and the maturity of individuals you interact and engage with is that they need to realize it's actually about exploring and understanding, and not a typical witch hunt, which a lot of people very often feel when you start bombarding them with questions.
We give you one last question, and that is, how do people get in touch with BMGI?
Well, yeah, BMGI is a global organization. Our head office in Denver. We've got an office in South Africa as well, in Johannesburg. So they are very welcome to go to our local website, which is www.bmgi.co.za. There's a huge amount of information on the international website as well, which is www.bmgi.com. And then we have almost 120 hours worth of free tools, templates, e-learning, video clips, typically what we went through today, which is available free of charge. You don't even have to register on the website, which is our .org site, so it's just bmgi.org, and you'll be able to access and get all the contact details there.